Let's now bring in education expert Jonathan Wesaya joining us by way of phone. Good morning, Wesaya. The in-tray for the now Education Cabinet Secretary, Professor Magoha, seems full. But what are some of the key issues that he must address as a matter of urgency?
Good morning, Michelle. Thank you for having me. For me, issue number one is the sessional paper for education reform and sustainable development. The draft paper was presented to Parliament when it was on recess over the Christmas holiday. It has not been priority for Parliament to discuss. I think it is time the good professor sat down with the Education Committee so that they prioritize the discussion, because the sessional paper should anchor the education reform. As it is now, we are engaging in education reform without the necessary legal instruments in place, which is technically an illegality.
And let's discuss the adoption of the competence-based curriculum, which was discussed yesterday, before members of Parliament. And if anything, if those sentiments are anything to go by, then there might be turbulent times in terms of adoption of that curriculum. How do you think he's likely to handle this?
Other people in other sectors where he has worked at the University of Nairobi and at the Kenya National Examination Council term him as being abrasive, and most of the time it's either his way or the highway. He will have to change tact in the education sector. If you noticed yesterday, the primary schools head teachers, the secondary school head teachers were laying bare the challenges they have to go through every day to manage the implementation of the new curriculum. Now, he has to call stakeholders on a round table and learn to listen to them, because they are the ones at the point of service delivery. So he needs to understand where the shoe pinches for him to apply a corrective measure. As it is, primary school head teachers still indicate that they do not have enough teaching and learning materials for the implementation of the curriculum.
Right. Well, during his vetting as well, we saw him make several promises, putting on notice anyone in the ministry that could be engaged in corruption, promising that in his tenure, no student will be denied an opportunity to sit for exams for not having a birth certificate. What are your thoughts on that?
I think before he gives notice to people outside the Jogo House, he may want to begin by cleaning Jogo House, because I think that is the bedrock of corruption in the education sector. The system has a way of capturing resources allocated to the learners, and you noticed yesterday the chair of the Secondary Schools Heads Association saying that the ministry announces through the principal secretary that money has been allocated, money has been sent to schools, and literally the money never leaves Jogo House to get to schools. So he may have to start internally. The idea that no child will be denied an opportunity to sit an exam, that is a progressive idea, because the acquisition of birth certificates is very straightforward in the city here, but in the villages, people undergo a lot of challenges. People have to cover a lot of distances, very long distances. So it is progressive when he says no child under his watch will be denied an opportunity to sit the exam.
Right.
But then he may want to call together the critical voices and stakeholders in the education sector for them just to give them a status update of the sector before he hits the road running.
All right. Let's discuss his impact in terms of tertiary education. We've seen student leaders now say, he must be in this position so that university fees is not increased. It is a debate that has been going on for the past month or two. He has served as Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi, so he understands how to run a school and what more money than universities would need. How is he likely to handle this one?
You may have noticed during his vetting, there was an issue on how much Higher Education Loans Board needs to be giving the learners, and how will that then affect the amount of tuition fees that the learners have to pay to the universities. And for me, the best way to handle it is get the proportions right so that you don't increase tuition fees without increasing the total allocation that is going to the learner directly from the Higher Education Loans Board.
Right.
But then there was also the issue of introducing a smart card that has, a tuition pocket and has an upkeep pocket where the learner is able to swipe when they are in school, and the allocation is for Moi University. They swipe at Moi University for that money to be used.
Right.
Because we have also had instances where allocations are made, transfers to the individual accounts of learners, and the learners never show up in school.
All right. Many thanks. That is education expert Jonathan Messiah. Thank you for your input there on the appointment of Professor George Magoha as the Education Cabinet Secretary. Now, the government has dispatched the Chief Administrative Secretary for Health, Dr. Rashid Aman, and a top psychiatrist from the ministry